Welcome back to Touring America. This is Eric, and I'm coming to you live from Gatlinburg, Tennessee right now. We're on day 4 of our spring trip. I'm with Jason and Anibal, and I've been hoping to come with you with more video, but just like last year, where we had Wi-Fi connection problems in our hotel, this year it's a different issue. I forgot the cable connection kit for my Sena camera. So I've got one on order. It's going to be here tomorrow, so I can start downloading some of my helmet cam videos and do a little bit of commentary over those. But right now, the three of us are going to sit down and talk with you about planning a trip and some of the processes that we go through to make sure that we've got kind of everybody on the same page, take everything into account, and we want everybody to have a good time but keep the stress low and get some good riding in. So stick around here in Touring America.
Lions from Greensboro and North Carolina.
So here we are back, and we're going to talk a little bit about getting started planning a trip. The beginning is really probably the most important part of getting a trip and getting everybody on board with the plans and the locations and kind of getting everything going. And kind of people have different comfort levels with different aspects of trip planning. So we're going to kind of just spend a little bit of time going through all that. And so we're here with Jason and Anibal, and we're going to talk a little bit about just kind of how we got started, at least planning this trip. We really use the same kind of formula for all of our trips. Jason and I have been riding together for how long, Jace?
I don't know, it's probably been getting close to 8-9 years here, so maybe 10, somewhere in there.
And the process, I think, has evolved just a little bit over time, but we kind of, I think, followed the same basic formula. Anibal's only been with us for
Third trip now.
Third trip, so a year and a half, 2 years. So he's kind of newer into the process. So why don't you kind of take us down the path of kind of how we usually go about it?
So we usually come up with 2 or 3 options. Usually we want to, here's our prime destination. This year, actually, Anibal, since he's a new rider with us, he hasn't been to some parts of the country like Arkansas, which we consider a hidden gem. A lot of people think flat plateau area or flat deltas in there, but Arkansas actually has some pretty good, they're not mountains, they're called plateaus, and you can drop a couple thousand feet, windy, twisty roads, so it's kind of a hidden gem down there a lot of people don't know about. But that was our primary destination for this year, but the weather did not cooperate, which we'll throw up a little weather radar later just to kind of give you an idea. There, I think the minimum rain was 8 inches, and it was like 12 inches, 14, it was some crazy weather that it had, so we decided to change our options, go a little south.
So this time, our backup plan came into play. How many times, what do you think percentage time that we have to go to a backup plan?
For us, I don't know, I would say 25%.
I would
It's pretty
say
rare.
25,
We've been really lucky on our trips. I mean, we dodged and weaved the rain on our primary trips, but that gets into another thing in consideration is our hotels because of that. Normally, we don't really book a hotel. And that's kind of the fun of the adventure part about it is sometimes we end up being on the road an extra hour and a half at night just because the town happens to have a band festival and all the hotels are booked, so we got to go find a hotel.
I think we've
somewhere
run
else.
into band festivals, car shows,
Yeah.
carnivals in town.
Bad weather tornado, unfortunately.
Yeah, tornadoes, and everybody left their houses and booked up all the hotel rooms.
Because they're just displaced. So we've kind of gone through, that's part of going in the south in the spring. You're going to get some bad weather and you just got to kind of plan for it and dodge and weave. So,
And kind of being from the upper Midwest, we usually go south in the spring.
yeah, we usually go south. For me, I'm up in Minnesota, so I want to see that warm weather a little sooner because it's probably another good month before I'm going to get weather like we get in the south. So, yeah, the hotel is pretty much whatever direction we're going. But occasionally we have to get a destination. We know it's a little bit more touristy in the road, so we're going to have to book a hotel. And that's where we kind of get locked in a little bit. So then we know we have to get to this destination because we either sometimes we can get the cancellation 24 hours in advance. Sometimes we're locked in to get the better pricing deals. So to fit the room for the number of people we want to get into it.
So Jason and I, we were just talking before we were shooting this video, kind of like the adventure of not always knowing where you're going. And even says it kind of makes you nervous. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Kind of makes me nervous only because of the way I am when I used to ride my other friends who I don't ride with anymore for other reasons. They're just not able to make the long road trips. Normally we would not plan a room, and we just plan trips, and so we'd be riding 16-hour days on average. So by 7 at night, I wanted to be in a room, and the way my new group of friends here, we are usually calling, by mid-afternoon looking to our end spot. Is a couple hours later, but for me it used to be a little nervous and stressful because not knowing where I'm going to sleep at night at 9 or 10 is a little nerve-wracking, even though it's kind of the fun and the whole part of the trip of where we're ending up at. But it's worked really well on these last couple of trips, the way we've worked it together, and I think that's a good cohesiveness we have because we're always looking at, is everybody, content with either the location or the weather, and they always seem to have backup plans. And in this case, we lucked out because our room we were able to cancel, I think, 48 hours in advance, which allowed us to change and be in a different location and stay dry and trophy.
And I think that's a great point, but making sure that everybody in your group is kind of comfortable with the plan, right? You're going to have kind of different people who are maybe more novice riders or who like to be in by a certain time. I know Jason and another guy we ride with all the time, Kent, they don't like to ride at night. There's a real kind of issue with deer or people who have really bad night vision. So you got to make sure you take all those things into account to make sure that everybody's kind of comfortable with what the plan is. So that was good. So what's kind of been your insight into our planning process, kind of like in the week or two leading up to this?
The week or two, it's exciting, even if I didn't know where I was ending up, or we're changing locations, or I'm getting weather updates from Eric all day long on 8 locations. It's fun. Even if I didn't have a location, or did, it's truly exciting. That's why I started tinkering and trying to find more things to make the trip even more enjoyable with my friends and for myself.
Right. And I think that's one of the other things, I think you guys probably both get tired of getting texts from me, but when the weather starts kind of looking bad at your primary, you just kind of start looking to anywhere where the weather looks good.
Yes.
Right? How about this? How about that? How about this other place? Try to get some backup things ready to go so that we're not all standing around picking our nose, right, when it kind of is not working out.
Yeah, we didn't want to go to Yellowstone where it was still snowing, one of your updates.
Yeah, bunch of wimps. I wanted to go to Yellowstone. Put the snow tires on. So after that, right? So our primary trip destination was Arkansas. Gatlinburg, right, was our backup, even though we'd just been here in the fall, right? But kind of the way the weather forecast looked, this was kind of in terms of planning, in terms of the duration we had to be gone. Why don't you talk about that? Picking a place kind of inside that's realistic.
So one of the things for me, I'm actually a day out for the rest of the group that I meet up with. So for consideration to give my persuasion into our trip a little bit, I have to make allowances for my vacation time too a little bit. I always have to add a day on before or after I have that really long trip, like an 800-900 mile day sometimes to get back home if I want to, work it out with the week for the group. So I have to take that in consideration. So one of the things when we're looking at, hey, do we want to go to Santa Fe, head way in the south into Texas, or we're going to go way east into Florida, that timing of things, I have to talk to the group about, say, hey man, these are long days, or what type of riding we're going to have. And part of my riding too is what I like, and I think most of the group does, is we don't like the flat roads. We kind of want the windy, twisty roads. So that kind of plays into our plan a little bit of where we're actually going to go.
There's good miles and there's bad miles.
Yeah, there's good miles and bad miles. The interstate's bad miles, right? So.
Right. So you can do what you got to do to get where you're going, but so on this trip, for instance, right? So we actually took off early. Jason alluded to earlier, the weather was kind of looking really bad. We actually left kind of a day or a half a day early to try to get through where some storms were coming through, and we'll put that a screenshot of that in there, kind of where we ended up in Louisville after our first night. But then kind of on day 2, we went from Louisville to Gatlinburg, which really isn't all that far if you jump on interstates, right? It's like maybe a half day, but just a little bit more than a half day. But let's try to actually, take state highways and county highways, right, and make it an enjoyable trip rather than just kind of burning asphalt for the sake of burning asphalt. So I think that's what we're talking about when we mean good miles versus bad miles. So something that's always a factor is budgeting, right? How much money do you have to spend on a trip? That's going to dictate how long you can be gone, the type of place you can stay at, what type of bike prep do you have to do beforehand. So all these things kind of come in and become factors. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about that.
So one of the things about the money is saving money is, I guess our biggest expense is probably in the hotel. In the early days, we actually did a little bit more camping, but camping, I mean, is great, and we all like to camp in this group, but camping is really not our primary focus. It's really the motorcycle riding and getting the roads. So we only did that a few years because we found that our time of setting up and tearing down, was just driving too much indoor time. The time we got, it was probably an hour on each end, and then you got to go find a place to eat. So you're wasting a couple hours every day just trying to do it. So we started hoteling it. And what we did in our hotels is that everybody just took a day, and it's my day, I get the hotel today, the next guy gets the hotel the next night, vice versa. We try to find a suite that maybe have a pull-out couch, a couple queen beds, have an air mattress. I mean, everybody's had their own bed, but we've crammed 4 or 5 guys in a room before and just cut your cost. If you look at it that way and you don't all mind sharing the same room and the same bathrooms, you cut your costs down completely. And we usually find some place that is reasonable, that has free breakfast in the morning, so that's even cutting into our cost a little bit more, that we don't have to pay for. And then someone picks up the hotel, then another guy that night is alternating who picks up dinner. And then usually the guy who's picking up the dinner, that's his night to splurge on himself if he wants to do that, right? So everybody's pretty even about, if you can have a few extra beers that night, but everybody's cool. And that's I know that money thing is a real issue with a lot of people. So we're just trying to keep giving you ideas out there how to kind of split that up and bring your costs down a little bit.
The other big factor, I think, is just in terms of when you're figuring in mileage is gas, right? The price of gas in the time that we've been doing this, right, has been way up and it's been way down, and it's kind of when you kick that. I mean, the price per gallon, I think, has changed 100%. I think it's been as low as like $2, and it's been up in near $5 in the time that Jason and I have been doing it, and that's something you got to take into consideration. It's probably not your biggest cost, but next to hotel, it's probably your next biggest cost.
Yeah, I would say that is our next biggest cost. So for your European people that are watching us, I know our gas is cheap, but still we're covering a lot more miles.
Right. What do you think about that, Nebo?
I don't think the gas is, I don't ever think of the gas as an issue. As long as my bike is riding, I'll pay the 5 or the 2.
So talk about a little bit when you talk about, you really don't think about the money for you when you're on a trip.
I don't think of it. I mean, as all of us, I consider finance, and we all have our financial issues of one thing or another. For me, once I go riding, I've committed already to do whatever I need to do to make sure my ride is good for me. And not only for me, I want to make sure it's good so I'm not breaking down or taking something longer where it takes consideration out of my other friends, because getting on the road is a big thing for me. I like to be on time, and it takes a little bit more time for me to pack because I don't have the nice luggage systems as my friends, which we can maybe go into later, but I'm driving a sport bike, so my gearing up is a little bit more different, my comfort level on how I ride and hit and get by rain. But finances, if I need another tire, which I did from our video last time when I hit a flat, or some new wiring systems, and if it's needed, I will get it. It's not like I'm going out shopping for clothes for the fun of it.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point. I don't think we've ever had on any of our trips a breakdown or a mechanical issue that could have been prevented by somebody just doing the proper maintenance on their bike. That really hasn't been an issue, but there are going to always be things that pop up that you don't expect.
Correct.
Like flats,
Yes.
or blown fuses,
Bad
or
welding job on the rack.
bad welding jobs, right? Different things that happen, right? Just so everybody knows, I'm not a cop, right? I don't have any weed stuffed in my pants. It's okay, right? But kind of getting prepared, to your point, right? If once you just kind of decide to do this, you have to at least make a commitment to have the basic stuff ready to go.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be the one driving the bike and then next thing I know I have a loose chain, or I popped the fuse because I didn't check them at least before I left. Those are things that can really slow a trip down, especially when it's raining about 2 inches of rain.
Or you're out in the middle of nowhere and there's nothing nearby where you're going to be able to get the parts you need.
So one of the things that I get asked all the time, people where I work, is where are you going on your motorcycle trip? And I usually just point my finger and say that way. Because we're trying to make this an adventure, at least a little bit, right? And not have everything planned out to the most minute detail. Because at work, we've got schedules, right? We've got meetings to go to, we've got deadlines to meet, and we don't want this to be like work. you plan to make sure that you're going to meet the needs of everybody in the group, but at the same time you don't want it down to the kind of the minutia. Today is a great example. We would love to be out riding, but we're making these videos in the hotel because it was storming most of the morning here, and the roads really aren't worth riding right now. So be considerate to everybody in your group. Have a plan, but be willing to change the plan when it just doesn't make sense anymore. And also make sure that you give yourself enough time to get back home inside the time frame that you've got available for you. So stick around here to Touring America. We're going to have a couple more videos coming up with some rides, and I think we're also going to look at a couple more bikes. You've seen some videos of my bike and some of the projects I've done. I think we're going to look at Jason's R1200 RT, and I think we're going to also look at an Ebel's GSX 1000 and his really cool luggage system that he's got. He alluded to it in the video a little bit earlier, but kind of packing, right? And what kind of systems does he have in place to make that happen? So until next time, be safe, keep the wheels down, and stay tuned to Touring America.